everyone, it is I, Ash, here to bless you all with some horror content on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or place this time in the void that you may be watching this video. Now, we have recently had Jordan Peele's latest entry into the genre released to outstanding feedback from fans and critics alike, with us scoring big for its beautiful visuals and dark central message hidden away in the subtext. Of course, this is all very unsurprising given his fantastic first work of Get Out, since Us pretty much doubles down on the unique vision and socio-political commentary style that was built up there to cement it as Jordan Peele's thing. Whilst both are brilliant movies, Us does venture away from the solid, clear narrative of Get Out by offering up a far more complicated and nuanced look at an impossibly broad issue in America, meaning that it might not hit quite the lofty heights of the first film in the process. It is still great, and is miles ahead of many Hollywood horrors we've become used to, but that doesn't mean it's not without a few issues, opening up to far more questions than it answers by the end of the film. But let's get to it then, eh? Lucky for you guys, this is a spoiler-free review, meaning you can watch before or after the movie in relative peace that you'll still get a great and surprising experience overall. Isn't that nice? To give the briefest impression of the plot then, we follow Adelaide Wilson, mother to Zora and Jason and wife to Gabe, as the four go on holiday to Santa Cruz to get some relaxation in with another family, the Tylers. However, when strange coincidences start mounting up, Adelaide is haunted by a memory from her past, one that culminates in being terrorised by a monstrous group of doppelgangers named as the Tethered. Oh, it's very spooky. Let's start with a look at the tone of Us then, which veers wildly between horror and comedy on a knife edge of bizarre character work. Truthfully, I believe the horrible vocalizations of the doppelgangers to be some of the most chilling horror work since that horrible noise from The Grudge, but there is plenty that would argue that it is straight up hilarious. Peele definitely manages to portray what it's like to be in a situation so surreal that it's laughable, but maintains a sinister knowing that builds dread underneath the surface. Horror as a whole is terrifying and serious, yes, but the nature of the genre is for reaction, which is why it lends itself so well to humour. Peele recognises this and uses it to his advantage, which some may not like, but is effective in establishing the psychotic underbelly to these characters which wouldn't be half as scary otherwise. Peele has had to do this as he also treads down some well-worn ground of the genre in beginning with a fat home invasion trope, incorporating what we've seen 1,000 times before but reimagining it as something new. There's points where Us loses its tension and has to work hard to pull us back in because of this, but when it gets back on track, it is absolutely nail-biting to see. Whilst the tone might wobble occasionally, Lupita Nyong'o as Adelaide never does. If there's any one reason to watch Us, it is absolutely Nyong'o, who undoubtedly gives one of the strongest performances of the year so far, a dual performance in fact, as Adelaide and her tethered equivalent Red. The tricky nature of the movie's premise requires Nyong'o to make a lot of complex choices whilst also juggling the duality of her two characters, and she knocks it out of the park. As both the wide-eyed, shell-shocked Adelaide and the obscenely creepy Red, Nyong'o is absolutely captivating, owning the screen at all times and easily propping the movie up even when the script sometimes falters. The early Oscar talk surrounding her performance isn't unfounded, as Nyong'o once again confirms herself to be an extraordinary talent, and the film would be a much tougher sell without her presence in it. And of course, Winston Duke as Gabe also puts in an absolutely solid portrayal of himself and the Tethered too, bringing the much-needed humour in full force with his dad shenanigans. Child actors Shahadi Wright-Joseph and Evan Alex are a little rough around the edges in comparison though. You can hardly blame them when they're up against these two forces of nature as their movie parents, to be honest, but there is moments when it can be a little distracting to not be sold entirely on their terror. As their tethered counterparts though, they are fantastic, they're very good. I'll hand that to them. I also have to shout out the Tylers too, with Elizabeth Moss and Tim Heidecker especially fantastic in their supporting roles. Every movie needs more hair slick moments, and you'll know what I mean when you see it. Now, moving on to the more negative aspects of the movie, easily the biggest issue, or at least its most divisive aspect, is born from the script. While undeniably detailed and ambitious, it doesn't feel remotely as watertight as his Oscar-winning script for Get Out. For starters, character and narrative logic is rather inconsistent throughout, leaving a whole load of questions about the actuality of what happened since it's sacrificed to make the subtext stronger. Peele arguably gives away his big conceit a little too early, whilst the later section of the movie flatly over-explains details which would have been so much better left ambiguous. Us isn't a badly written movie by any means, but it does ultimately feel like a less coherent jumble of intriguing yet half-baked ideas that don't really add up to a satisfying whole, at least on the surface. Us is a movie that works far better when looking at its underlying allegory, which I will leave for you to discover and to Josh to explain in our ending video, whereas previously Peele has very successfully married the two without sacrificing anything in the process. It is still a great watch, which I want to emphasize, but it's definitely not a perfect one as a whole construction. Moving on to Peele's direction though, Us feels decidedly ambitious visually, with punchy shot selections and an abundance of images which stick firmly in your head. He cleverly uses visuals to hide key clues about the nature of the plot, which are sure to make subsequent viewings extremely rewarding. Needless to say, Peele makes pretty much every shot of Us either stylish or information dense, showing considerable growth as a filmmaker in the process. Knowing how deviously Peele constructed his previous film, it is undeniably fun scanning every frame of this movie and paying extra attention to every morsel of dialogue, seeking out hints for what might be unfolding, especially when it looks this good, with attention lavished over colour schemes and angles that mean you could watch this whole thing in silence and still come away feeling overwhelmed. Though you really wouldn't want to do that, however, as the absolute pinnacle of this movie's technical prowess comes in its adept use of music. For starters, that rap classic I Got 5 on It is never one you'd imagine to head up a horror movie, yet they manage it here. Later on, we're treated to other such pop remixes that work to incredibly meta effect too, but it is the score that is the real star of the show. Employing nerve-rattling string work and accounting for much of the film's mood, that haunting chant will stick with you long after the credits have rolled on Adelaide's plight. Seriously, I cannot get across how good the music work is in this film. As for its similarities to Get Out, which we've got to address, Us is a film which invites a wealth of interpretation from the viewer, and regardless of Peele's own intent when penning the script, audiences are naturally going to walk away with their own conclusions. Thankfully, Peele keeps the precise nature of his message ambiguous this time, beyond declaring pre-release that he was majorly concerned with the notion of we're our own worst enemy. Again, the great strength of Us is in challenging the viewer to make sense of its more ambiguous and mysterious central themes compared to Get Out, which laid it out with comparative obviousness, though one can argue also greater effectiveness. In either case, the film should be commended for giving viewers plenty to ponder. Combined with its breathtaking visuals and spine-tingling use of music, deft humour and brilliant acting, as well as a whole load of genre thrills that show a brand new side to horror we've not experienced before despite the similar situations, and Us is a landmark movie for horror despite the flaws that lie in its heart. If you don't like a dose of non-realistic humour in dark situations and can't look past a plot hole or two for a tapestry of big and small messages under the surface, you won't like this movie, it should be noted. From me then, Us comes highly recommended if you go in with an open mind, and will reward you with a wealth of opportunities to enjoy its beautifully rendered world as well as dig deep into a dark, real issue in the American underbelly that Peele puts on screen. Put simply, just go and watch it. It is worth your time and money. Peele has defined himself as the next, well, Jordan Peele, as he's unlike anything we've seen in the genre before. So there is my review of the movie. A solid 7.5 out of 10, or rounded up a 4 out of 5 stars. But what do you think? Please let me know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, sacrifice your firstborn, and all of that to keep coming back to What Culture. For now though, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.
Look, my son, look at the marvel that I have created. Comics. They called me a fool for trying to put a dead meme onto a t-shirt. A damn bold fool! A damn bold fool with an ass that won't quit. It got quite personal towards the end there. But look who's laughing now! Quiet! Quiet, my son, my ugly son, for my other creation rises. Look at the quality fabric, hand-stitched by blind orphans. The perfect letter spacing calculated so meticulously that Rich Hudson had an erection for months about it. And a colouring so deep that I had to buy the dye off the dark web. Oh, for God's sake, Josh!
Sorry.
Marvel. Oh no, the beast has grown angry, angered by our drab fashion choices. I am such a fool to think that it wouldn't try to infect us with its perfect design. Quick, we must do something to appease the beast. Why don't we buy one from shop.whatculture.com? Look, it's already got Scott Nash.
Oh no!
But where can I buy one? Are you kidding me? This is why I don't give you any extra lines. But also at shop.whatculture.com. Quick, let's go and buy one right now. Let's go buy one right now.
Right now.
Oh, don't you try hard now. You've already lost your bit. Oscar's in the f***ing bin. There we go. Doesn't that look better? I feel so virile and alive, and it's also fixed your hump. That's actually pretty good. Now do yourself a favour and act like your mum and spread the love, aka her legs, and buy yourself one of these glorious dead memes on a t-shirt, courtesy of this handsome chap right here. You're very, very welcome.
Cut!
Jesus Christ, mine is so
It's
itchy.
all wet. What?
It stinks. I pissed on yours.
The worst font ever. I want to die.